Hi, this is Bill, and you are on Finest Travel Beat with Angela and Bill. On today's video, we continue our series on the British Isles cruise we took on the Regal Princess. Today's stop is at the port of South Queensferry, which is the port that's used to visit the city of Edinburgh. As always, we're going to tell you what we did when we visited Edinburgh, what worked, what didn't work. We had a fairly sizable fail on this particular shore excursion. We'll explain everything about that, show you a little bit around the city and the way back and forth, and hopefully get some value out of this episode. So sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy. As you can see, Edinburgh is a tender port, so you have to take a lifeboat, which is what they use on the Regal Princess, and you go to a ferry pier, which you'll see in a few minutes after we pass the Forth Bridge. Edinburgh is considered the capital of Scotland since at least the 15th century. It's the seat of the Scottish government, the Parliament, and the highest courts. It also houses Edinburgh Castle and Holyroodhouse, which is the official residence of the monarch in Scotland. For this particular shore excursion, we decided to do a city tour. We booked through Project Expedition, who we use quite a bit for our independent travels. There are shore excursions that were available through Princess. We generally try to use independent excursions where we can. The pricing is generally a little bit better, and also the groups tend to be smaller. What's very important, though, is to read the terms and conditions of any shore excursion that you're on. Make sure it fits what you're looking for, and make sure that includes everything that you wanted to include, and follow up. And in a couple of minutes, I'm going to tell you the major issue we had with our shore excursion. The excursion we selected today was the best of Edinburgh. Generally, when we're in someplace for the first time, that's the type of excursion we like, to get the lay of the land. We booked through Project Expedition. Now, what you need to understand about them is they don't actually operate the excursions themselves. They are more of a consolidator, almost like a Viator, where you'll go through them, and then they'll work with local tour operators to schedule your excursion. Quick, before I continue, the bridge you're seeing is a railway bridge. It's called the Forth Bridge. It's pretty famous. It's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was opened in 1890, and it connects South Queensferry from North Queensferry, which are two little villages on either side of it. The actual shore excursion today was through Timberbrush Tours, which is a local excursion operator in Scotland. Now, communication with Project Expedition, who is the company that we would deal with, is excellent. They are very good. The hiccup came in that our excursion did not include the actual cost of the tickets to Edinburgh Castle. For those of you who don't know, Edinburgh Castle gets very crowded, and it's capacity controlled. When we purchased the excursion, we had specifically requested that the tickets be purchased for us, and that they would be made available on the tour rather than us having to book it separately. That's going to be really important for you to look at anytime you book something, to make sure that not only the tickets are included, but you want skip-the-line tickets. We specifically asked that the tickets to the Edinburgh Castle be included, and we were told that they were. What happened was the local tour operator, Timberbrush, never ordered the tickets. We didn't find this out until we got in the van on our way to the castle. We immediately contacted Project Expedition. The van operator contacted his people. Long story short, and much to our disappointment, we were unable to get tickets to Edinburgh Castle that day because they weren't purchased in advance, and they weren't available. Now, obviously, we were very disappointed in this, and Project Expedition, to their credit, they did everything possible to try to get us tickets. Timberbrush Tours also made some efforts as well. They did make it right. We got a quite sizable refund for the excursion back. Obviously, it was very disappointing, but you know what? We didn't let it ruin our day. We did the best we could. We did other things that we may not have seen if you spent time in the castle. I'll explain that to you a little bit later in the video. Just real quick, the waters on the tender ride over to the pier is probably about 20 minutes. The water was not rough. I've been told by people sometimes the water can be a little rough here, but for us it was fine. And another interesting note is you'll notice where we got off on the dock, there are various moorings. When we came back, this was low tide. When we came back, high tide had actually covered all this, so we were actually much closer to that little village, the South Queensferry, on the shore, coming back than we were when we left the ship. Another thing that was really awesome, as you'll see in a second, was that we were greeted by a bagpiper on shore. Once we got off the tender boat, we walked up to the street and looked for our guide. It's very important to read the instructions specifically regarding meeting instructions. It can get pretty chaotic. There's a lot of people holding different signs. The excursions may look the same. So it's really important to keep those documents with you. Look at it, know who you're looking for, know the name of the tour operator, and you'll find your way. And the best is try to find other people looking for the same tour. Now, the ride from South Queensferry to Edinburgh is about 20 minutes. There are trains available from there as well. You can take the train in. My understanding is the train ride takes about 20 minutes as well. There's also ride shares and taxis and things like that. Edinburgh is a large city, so it's pretty easily accessible. Now, some people also decided to stay actually in South Queensferry. It's a very, very small little village with some quaint old restaurants and shops and bars. I don't know that we would have spent a whole lot of time there, but it looked really, really quaint. And unfortunately, after this excursion, we got back too late to really enjoy South Queensferry. On our way down to the Royal Mile, which is the old section of Edinburgh, you'll see that, and that's where we spent the majority of our time. The van driver was excellent. He took us throughout Edinburgh, up and down various streets in the old section as well as in the new section. Gave us a little information about the history, about what we were looking at, some information on Harry Potter. Edinburgh is where J.K. Rowling's got the inspiration for many of the scenes and settings of the Harry Potter novels. As we've seen throughout our videos on this series that we've done so far, Scotland really surprised us. It was absolutely beautiful. The architecture was amazing. The countryside was beautiful. People were very, very nice. Edinburgh in general is a great combination of old and new. So much history, so much great scenery. A little bit here outside of our van, you can see some footage of Holyrood Park and Arturs Seat. This is a scenic overlook that is right next to downtown Edinburgh. As you can see here, it's absolutely fantastic scenery, beautiful countryside, a lot of joggers and people walking. Just beautiful, again, just breathtaking. Arturs Seat rises about 800 feet above the city center and is located only about a mile from the city center as well. As I continue on, before we get to the Royal Mile itself, I'd like to ask you to hit like if you're getting value out of this video. If you want to see the rest of the videos in our collection, we have them up on the channel. Cork, Belfast, Dublin, many, many ports. We're going to be having one on Paris. We did about 10 ports on this amazing cruise, including London. So hit that subscribe button. That way you'll see all of our new videos, and also lets YouTube know that you find value in our videos. We're almost to the Royal Mile now, where we did try to get some tickets to the Edinburgh Castle with no success at all. This is where the bus dropped us off. It's right near the entrance to the Royal Mile and to Edinburgh Castle. Beautiful, beautiful architecture. Be prepared, it's a very touristy area. It gets very crowded. Edinburgh Castle in general gets extremely crowded. As you can see, we're walking up that way now. We felt safe. We were told there was some pickpockets that do operate in all tourist areas, no matter where you go. This was about as far as we could go. You can see they had the bleachers set up for the Royal Military Tattoo. That happens in August every year, and that draws an incredible number of visitors. So if you're not looking to see the bagpipes of the Royal Military Tattoo, you'll probably want to avoid those weeks when it does take place. So just pay attention to your calendars when you're booking these types of things. We decided to go down to the newer section of Edinburgh to check that out, see what that was about. It's really it's very close to the Royal Mile and kind of runs parallel. You'll see there ahead of us is the Scott Monument. It is a memorial to Sir Walter Scott. It's about 300 steps to the top, where you can actually overlook supposedly beautiful views of the city. We did not do that. We just kind of went to the new section for a little bit, just kind of check it out. Went to a Hard Rock Cafe, so I get my Hard Rock Cafe pin, and looked for Angela's Pandora charm, which you always do. Walking back now across, this is a big rail yard there, a railroad station. Lots of hills, just be prepared. When we were walking down to the newer section, it was pretty much straight downhill. We knew we were going to pay the price coming back. So it just seems like, obviously, coming from Florida, everything is flat. In Scotland and Ireland, England, Europe in general, things are pretty much uphill. We're back over now. We're on one of the streets in the old town, walking up towards the Royal Mile. We're back on the Royal Mile now. While we're really bummed that we didn't get to Edinburgh Castle, like I said, we don't let things bother us. If there's something we don't get to do, we'll find something else to do. And we actually really enjoyed having the extra time just walking around the Royal Mile. Angela and I love going into shops, checking things out, maybe having a drink at a local pub, just being able to take our time. So it was a blessing in disguise, I guess. Bottom line is, what I'm trying to say to everybody is, even if there's some disappointment, you're on vacation, make the best of it. Rather than being bummed about a bad situation or something that may have happened, something that goes wrong, just try and make the best of the rest of the day. The other thing it gave us time to do was to spend some time at Holyrood Palace, which will be coming up in a couple of seconds. Unfortunately, they wouldn't allow filming inside Holyrood Palace. We did do a tour inside. There was no issue getting in there. It's not nearly as crowded as Edinburgh Castle is. It's actually located exactly opposite of where Edinburgh Castle is on the Royal Mile. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack in the comments about the way I pronounce Edinburgh. I believe it's Edinburgh. For Americans, it's kind of tough to say, especially with a New York accent. But getting back to the Holyroodhouse, this is the official residence of the British monarchs while they're in Scotland. Again, it's located at the bottom of the Royal Mile. It adjoins Holyrood Abbey, which you'll see in a couple of seconds. It was built in the 12th century and has so much history in it. I could spend probably 2 or 3 hours going through the history of the Stuarts and all of the things. It has particular significance for Mary, Queen of Scots. The area that we're going into now is Holyrood Abbey. It's located right adjacent to Holyrood Palace. This was founded in 1128, and it's ruined, but they're currently trying to renovate it, restore it as best as possible. A lot of interesting history in here as well. Part of it was accessible, part of it wasn't, but it just, amazing. Again, throughout this whole series, if you've been watching, every place you turn around in the British Isles, just amazing history. It was the same thing when we went to Rome. It just, it really, coming from the United States, where our history is really, we're kind of young in terms of world events. Something like that was built in 1128, which was almost 400 years before America was even discovered by Columbus. We finished up our tour of Edinburgh with a visit to Calton Hill. This is a park. It's on the eastern end of Princess Street. It's the scene or the home of a lot of monuments and amazing panoramic views of the city. You can actually see the cruise ship all the way out there on the water on the horizon as well. Calton Hill is home of many classical structures. Includes the National Monument. This is the City Observatory. The Dugald Stewart Monument is there as well. It's also home of the Nelson Monument, which was completed in 1816, commemorating the death of Lord Nelson in the Battle of Trafalgar. Now, there are a ton of other options, and this one is just what we did. There's also one we would have liked to have done was visit the Royal Yacht Britannis, which was Queen Elizabeth's yacht that, if you've watched The Crown, there's a whole episode on that. Very interesting sights. Edinburgh in general, or Scotland in general, there's just so much history and so many things to do. You have a lot of choices. This one we really enjoyed. We would definitely come back and do this again. Also, just kind of recap the day. While the tour company did drop the ball of the tickets, the van operator was fantastic. He was really good, took us around. It was humorous, interesting. We are back now at the port. It was about 20 minutes back. As you can see, where we walked off of the lifeboat or the tender boat is now underwater because the tides come in. Very, very interesting fact there that the tides are so much on a river. Not really used to having river tides as much. On the horizon there, you can also see those little shops and stuff in South Queens Ferry before we took the tender back to the ship. I would say we were about 7 or 8 hours on the shore excursion. It was great. We could spend days at these places. We love cruising because it gives you a little taste of things and know where you want to come back to. And there's some places that we weren't as thrilled with. We caught a beautiful sunset over that Fourth Bridge. And in closing, again, if you're enjoying this video, please hit that like button. Watch the other videos. We have a couple more coming up, but we did an Outlander tour. We did so much when we were there. We've gotten great feedback on all the videos. We also have some videos of our stay in London. And then there's a whole nother series we're working on with Rome, Athens, Barcelona, those ports. So, again, we hope you enjoyed this video. And on behalf of Angela, come join us on our next adventure. Bye-bye, everybody.